The Game of Thrones Season 7 trailer begins, as all great trailers do, with a quick geography lesson. Queen Cersei stands on a map and says there are enemies to her east, to her west, to her south, and to her north. There's Daenerys Targaryen with her invading army, there's King Euron Greyjoy with his Ironborn fleet, there are the Sand Snakes and Olenna in the Reach and in Dorne, and in the north there's King Jon Snow. We learn a lot about each of these sides in the trailer and about other cool stuff besides, so let's have a quick look at what this all means for the future of Game of Thrones. First off, Daenerys Targaryen finally arrives at Westeros. This is a moment that Dany has dreamed of for years, that fans have awaited for years, ever since the first book came out back in '96. Daenerys was born here at Dragonstone, the ancestral home of the Targaryen dynasty that had ruled Westeros for 3 centuries, until Robert Baratheon took over and Dany had to flee with her brother Viserys. All her life, Dany longed to return to her home and to her birthright, the Iron Throne, and now, after 6 seasons and 5 books and 20 long years, her time has finally arrived to conquer Westeros. This table in Dragonstone was made by Dany's ancestor Aegon 300 years ago, a map with no borders to show that the 7 Kingdoms is truly one realm, for one king to rule alone, or in this case, one queen. There ain't room for 2 on the Iron Throne, so to defeat Queen Cersei, Dany brings with her 3 dragons, a Dothraki horde, an unsullied army, fire and blood. Dany says she was born to rule the 7 Kingdoms, but is she even the good guy here? From another perspective, she's a crazy dragon lady from across the sea, attacking the kingdoms with foreign soldiers, burning people alive with flying monsters. Is she really the hero? Dany's often compared to her father, the cruel Mad King Aerys. Will Dany be a force for peace, or will she go down her dad's dark path? Fortunately, Dany has many supporters and advisors around her, including Grey Worm of the Unsullied and Missandei, who get it on in the trailer, despite the fact that Grey Worm is a eunuch. And there's Tyrion Lannister, who has valuable political experience in King's Landing, and who has a curious relationship with Dany's dragons. Some fans think that Tyrion might ride a dragon. Dany also has Varys, though he's barely visible in the trailer, and other characters like Daario and Kinvara aren't there at all. These last seasons of Thrones move so fast that there isn't even time to kill off the minor characters before they're cut from the story. But someone we do see is Melisandre. She's at Dragonstone, which is a bit of a surprise. Last we saw Mel, she was exiled from Winterfell by Jon and Davos for the whole child murder kerfuffle last season. It seems that Mel then went to Dragonstone, where Dany is. Mel has a pretty flaky record when it comes to supporting leaders. First she says Stannis is the savior, then Jon. Maybe now she'll support Daenerys, who other Red Priests say is the hero Azor Ahai. Dany and Mel do both love flame, so they should get along like a house on fire, or like a girl on... Anyway, Dany has a great squad and a huge army, and in the trailer she goes on the attack. We see Cersei's Lannister soldiers attacked by Daenerys' Unsullied in a castle that looks unfamiliar. It's got Lannister heraldry painted on an archway though, so this might be Casterly Rock, the home base of the Lannisters, which we've never seen before in either the books or the show. The Rock is a massive fortress built into a mountain in the Westerlands, and it's apparently never been taken before. If Casterly Rock falls to Daenerys, that would be a huge blow to House Lannister. This spot on the map, by the way, seems to read CA, maybe supporting the idea that this place is Casterly Rock. So Daenerys is Cersei's eastern enemy. Her enemies to the south are Daenerys' allies, the Sand Snakes of Dorne and Olenna of the Reach. These guys don't actually appear in the trailer, which is a strong hint that they might not last long in Season 7. The first big Sand Snakes episode was the least popular episode in Game of Thrones history, and ever since, the showrunners seem to be pretending that the Dorne storyline never happened, with only a brief couple of scenes in Season 6. So the Sand Snakes will probably be quickly swept under the rug in Season 7, though hopefully Olenna Tyrell still has some fight in her. Olenna's whole family was murdered by Cersei last season, so now Olenna has nothing to lose. She's out for revenge. Also, we see Ellaria Sand making out with Yara Greyjoy, which is fun, though the last person who Ellaria kissed, Cersei's daughter Myrcella, caught a pretty bad case of death by poison, so Yara might want to be careful where she sticks her bits, but also, Cersei has not forgotten the murder of Myrcella by the Sand Snakes. There are a lot of scores to settle in Season 7. Another battle in the trailer seems to take place in the south, because Dany's Dothraki are fighting men not from House Lannister, but from House Tarly. This bowman looks just like the Tarly heraldry. House Tarly is led by Randyll Tarly, said to be one of the greatest military minds in Westeros. However, it looks like Randyll makes the huge mistake of trying to fight the Dothraki not in a castle, but in the open field. That is like the one thing you should never do against mounted Dothraki, because these guys can run your ass down, shooting arrows from horseback, jumping from one horse to another, dual-wielding araks, running literal circles around you. This is not what you want, so Randyll fucked up, and will probably die, which actually is pretty lucky for Randyll's son Samwell. Sam, if you remember, took Randyll's favorite toy last season, the Valyrian steel sword Heartsbane, and Randyll might not forgive that. He's threatened to kill Sam before, and after the theft of his beloved sword, he might finally decide to, quote, hunt Sam down like the pig he is. So maybe not such a bad thing if Sam's dad dies. Meanwhile, Sam can keep studying in the Citadel of the Maesters. He and Gilly might uncover all sorts of secrets in the Citadel library. In this promo image, Gilly is reading a text about Azor Ahai, the hero prophesied to save the world. The Citadel is home to Westeros' greatest experts on history and astronomy and on medicine, which could be very important for Jorah Mormont. In the trailer, we see his arm emerge from within a wooden door, badly infected with the disease Grayscale. Jorah is slowly turning into a stony zombie, but there might be hope of a cure at the Citadel. And this raises some really cool possibilities, because in the books, there's a character called Victarion Greyjoy, who gets an infected wound in his arm. He's healed in a magical ritual, and afterwards his arm is left bloody and blackened, charred and smoking, but apparently stronger than ever. Maybe the curing of Jorah's infected arm will do something similar, give him a red, smoking, super-powered arm, just like Victarion, and like Hellboy, and the Ninja Gaiden guy, and C-3PO. This might not be likely, but it would be super cool. So that's what's going on in the south. Cersei's enemies in the west seem to refer to the Ironborn under King Euron Greyjoy. That's a Greyjoy ship we see in the trailer. Cersei calls Euron an enemy, but an alliance between Cersei and Euron is possible. That might be Euron in Cersei's throne room in the trailer. Cersei desperately needs some allies, surrounded as she is by enemies on all sides, and with the Iron Islands behind him, Euron Greyjoy could prove a powerful friend. In the trailer, we see him attack what seems to be Daenerys' fleet, the Targaryen, Tyrell, and Martell ships we saw at the end of Season 6. And this battle could be huge. Theon Greyjoy is here, Yara and Ellaria are probably there, and judging by all the fire, Dany's dragons might be involved. We've seen the dragons kick ass at sea before, but Ironborn are famously dangerous on water, and Euron no doubt has some tricks up his sleeve. So this naval battle could get pretty crazy. So Euron may be a useful ally for Cersei, but otherwise she's running pretty low on friends, having blown up half the capital last season. As tensions rise and her enemies close in, it'll be interesting to see if Cersei shows any remorse or regret over her crimes, or if she'll remain defiant to the end. Speaking of which, there's a lot of speculation over how Cersei may die. A prophecy in the book suggests that Cersei will be killed by her brother. Cersei thinks this means Tyrion, but some fans think Jaime will be the one to kill his sister. So maybe Cersei's most faithful protector will prove to be Gregor Clegane, the undead mountain, who now looks like a medieval Darth Vader in some new black armor. It's cool how the armor has an image of Cersei's crown on the chest. Previous Kingsguard armor has shown a Targaryen dragon, a king's crown, or the Faith's Star. This emblem puts Cersei front and center. Cersei's been a focus of a lot of the HBO promos lately. This season might be a big one for her. So we've seen Cersei's enemies to the east, south, and west. When she speaks of her enemies to the north, we get a shot of Arya Stark traveling alone. The show has spent 2 seasons training Arya as an assassin, but with Walder Frey dead, her priority now seems to be to return home to Winterfell. Ever since Season 1, Arya has been cruelly separated from her family, and it'll be a hugely emotional moment for her to see Sansa and Bran and Jon again. First, though, she might reunite with another close friend, the direwolf Nymeria, who Arya had to leave in the Riverlands back in Season 1. There are hints in the books that while Arya has been off training, Nymeria's been busy too, growing from a cute little doggo into a monstrous man-eating she-wolf, leading a huge pack of wolves across the Riverlands. Nymeria is not just a symbol of Arya's Stark heritage, she's a symbol of how Arya's changed from an innocent young girl to a violent, ruthless killer. Hopefully Arya will find some peace this season. Also, speaking of Bran, he and Meera aren't in the trailer, but they're presumably still heading down to Winterfell. Since Benjen dropped them off a fair distance short of the Wall, Meera has a long way to drag Bran home, which could get tricky with the zombies chasing them, though on the upside when they arrive, Meera's glutes will be incredible. But at Winterfell itself, we see Cersei's main northern enemies, King Jon Snow and Sansa Stark with Brienne and the Lords of the North and Davos and Littlefinger, lurking down in the shadows. We see him in the Winterfell crypts with Jon, and Jon slams Peter up against a wall. Did Littlefinger just say something about Jon's mother? They are standing next to the statue of Lyanna Stark, and while we found out last season that Jon is Lyanna's son, Jon doesn't know that yet. But maybe Littlefinger does? Also, Jon attacking Peter mirrors a scene in Season 1 when Ned did the same thing. Starks are touchy. Littlefinger is also whispering in the ear of Sansa, who he seems to be trying to turn against Jon. On the one hand, Peter has a point. Sansa is the oldest trueborn child of Ned Stark, apart from Bran, who everyone thinks is dead, so by rights, it's Sansa, not Jon, who should rule the North. On the other hand, Peter is a sociopathic, scheming creep who sold Sansa to the Boltons, killed Sansa's Aunt Lysa, betrayed Sansa's father Ned, and partly caused the whole War of the Five Kings in the first place, so it's about goddamn time that someone killed this guy already. Davos, meanwhile, plays the voice of reason, reminding everyone that all this petty politics is pointless in the face of the coming war with the White Walkers. It's kind of funny how the Starks have so suddenly come to trust this random southerner Davos, but it's a good thing they do, because he's one of the only people talking sense in this series. The HBO promos this year make it clear that the Walkers and the Whites are the big threat to Westeros. And in the trailer, it looks like Jon leads a push against the Walkers. A group of people run out beyond the wall, including Jon and Tormund, and possibly Gendry. See how one of the blokes has a warhammer? Gendry is the bastard son of Robert Baratheon, who famously used a warhammer in his rebellion. Fans have been saying for years how cool it would be if Gendry took up a hammer and emulated his father in battle. And with all the rowing he's been doing, he'd probably be more than strong enough. A shame the weather's so cold, though. He'll probably have to keep a shirt on. Also, we know the Hound has joined Beric and Thoros heading north. Maybe those guys are in this group too. Brienne might be there, and Benjen's out here somewhere too, so this might just be the greatest all-star team we've ever seen in Thrones. Some of the best warriors in all Westeros fighting together. They'll need to be at their best to face the Walkers and the Whites and the long night to come. So there is a huge amount of stuff happening in Game of Thrones Season 7, and there are only 7 episodes to fit it all in. Time is running out to wage wars, settle scores, expose secrets, achieve ambitions, unite with family, bring about justice, to fight, to survive, and to fulfill destiny. We're well beyond the books now, so no one knows how this'll end, and every moment might just be a character's final scene. Make sure to subscribe to Old Shift X for more on the Game of Thrones show and books. We've got videos about Arya and White Walkers and a million other things if you want to go check those out. Also, if you haven't read the books before, consider buying them with the Amazon link below. You will not regret reading deeper into Thrones. This chart is by Swolf of Wall Street, this Victorian art is by Mike Hulstein, this Vader art is by Roberto Robert. All of the links are below. Thank you to the translators for translating captions, and as ever, thank you to the patrons for making this channel possible. If you'd like updates, behind-the-scenes posts, scripts, and more from Alt-Shift-X, consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Thanks to patrons Sean McGrail, Belladonna Q, Bruno Ribeiro, Tim Barclay, and Poundlock. Cheers.